All right, so one of the things we've been talking about a lot with the nutrition stuff, specifically what it does for your fitness, is always trying to move you on that continuum from sickness to wellness to fitness in the direction of fitness, because fitness is basically a version of super wellness. And one of the ways we talk about moving in that direction are all those biomarkers that are indicative of your health. So when you go to your doctor, you get your blood work, you get your cholesterol, you get your blood sugar, you get your LDL, your triglycerides, all of those things. I'm going to argue that there might be one of those markers that's way more important than the other. And if you don't regularly get it on your blood test, that you should ask for it next time you go get your blood work done. Because traditionally, they'll ask you to fast before your blood work, and they're going to ask you for your glucose, which is basically your fasting glucose, or how much sugar is in your blood at the moment they draw the blood. A more beneficial marker of your health would be your HbA1c, which is your glycated hemoglobin, which basically is a report on how much of your hemoglobin is attached to sugar via a covalent bond, which means they share electrons. That's what a covalent bond is, in case you forgot about, biochemistry years and years ago. But essentially, when you get your HbA1c done, you can figure out how much of your blood, your hemoglobin, is attached to sugar. And it's an average over the last 2 to 6 months. It depends. Some people say it's 2 months, some say 3, some say 4, some say 5. So I'll just say somewhere between 2 and 6 months. Now, this happens as a result of chronically elevating our blood sugar. Eating processed food, sugar, high glycemic carbohydrate, basically eating the things in the center of the grocery store. That's how this would happen. And essentially what's happening here is that the protein, the hemoglobin, which is a globulin protein, gets damaged when this sugar bonds to it. And as a result, it doesn't work the way that's supposed to. And if you have elevated HbA1c, which means greater than 5.7% of your hemoglobin has sugar bonded to it, you are now in the category of pre-diabetic. And that goes from about 5.7 to 6.4%. If you go to your doctor and it's higher than 6.5%, you are now a diabetic. The good news is, this is not a death sentence. You can fix this problem. But before we talk about the fix, let's talk about what goes wrong with having a high result of HbA1c. Well, something we talked about quite a few times here is the deadly quartet. So they used to think that because you were fat, you had hypertension, you had high triglycerides, and you got diabetes. They used to think it was because you were fat. Turns out, the fatness is a symptom of something greater, something called hyperinsulinemia, which basically just means too much insulin in the blood at all times. When you have too much insulin in the blood at all times, you are highly more likely to have higher levels of glycated hemoglobin, because more sugar is in your bloodstream, more of it bonds to your blood. These things lead to obesity, high triglycerides, hypertension, and eventually diabetes. You let it go long enough. But it does other things as well. It causes you to age faster. People who eat worse age faster. Just a matter of fact, you get more reactive oxygen species, one of the things that causes inflammation. Inflammation makes you age. Also, the same sugars that bond to your hemoglobin bond to your immunoglobulin cells as well, which means it affects your immune system. Another reason why all those folks that had COVID and 4 or 5 comorbidities croaked. They were immunocompromised because of their shitty diet. Your diet influences your immune system. If you have a bad diet, you're going to have a bad immune system. And then something that's really interesting that's coming out as of recent out of Harvard, increased incidence of mental disorder. Basically, the sugar attaches to the blood goes into the brain, it causes dysregular blood flow to your brain and dysregular processes in your brain, and as a result, you're far more likely to have anxiety disorders, mood disorders, and other issues like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. So, question is, how do you fix it? There's a few different ways you can work on improving your HbA1c. If you're extremely diabetic or extremely high in the HbA1c things, fasting is a really good way to help you. Start with the 12 and 12. 12 hours on, 12 hours off of eating. Most of you sleep for 6 to 8 hours a night. That's 3/4 of it, 2/3 of it. That's one way. Second way, resistance exercise. What you guys just did helps your body decrease insulin in the bloodstream. Insulin, again, drives sugar into your cells, gets it out of your bloodstream. Exercise helps drive the sugar you eat into your cells. And the last is probably the most important one that we keep talking about over and over and over again in the pyramid. Keep the preponderance of your carbohydrate in the low glycemic variety so you do not spike your blood sugar, and as a result, avoid hyperinsulinemia, all of these terrible things you don't want, and you live a happier and healthier life, looking younger. Wouldn't that be nice? Do you guys have any questions? So again, take-home message here. If you want to get really good information on how your health is doing, the next time you get blood work, ask for HbA1c, your glycated hemoglobin. It'll tell you how you've been eating over the last, let's call it 3 to 6 months. If you don't like the number, it's somewhere in the 5.7 to 6.4 range, start considering more of this. Probably more so that one, which means eating more of your diet from low glycemic carbohydrates. Exercising, which you guys already do a really good job of. And if you've never experimented with fasting, you could experiment with that. But before you experiment with fasting, start here first. The solution isn't to not eat. The solution is to fix what you are eating. And if that doesn't work, then considering the fasting on top of the exercise. Any questions? Cool. So I'm really bad at advertising these, so I'm sorry I didn't say anything like at the beginning of the whiteboard brief, but thanks for hanging, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.